And welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We're just touching all the hot topics today, all the heated debates. No, you don't think so?
The hell is very vanilla.
Very vanilla. I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to talk to you. We have MLB Pride Patches you wanted to talk about. We agreed we should talk about what Matthew McConaughey said. And a vanilla ice cream story that I think might bring the whole world back together that I want to tell you about.
I'm all for it. I am all for it.
Let's dive right into it.
Go ahead.
The MLB issue.
Are you going to ask me how I'm doing?
No, I think we should just dive right into it.
All right.
This is what I'll say to you. I can feel like I'm a little riled up. I feel, and I'll just say this. I will say, like, after the last day or two, I think we're all just kind of like riled. Like, we're all kind of ready to like put on the gloves a little bit.
I'm good.
So let's go for it.
Not me. I'm easy going.
Let's swing for the fences.
That's why I'm easy like Sunday morning, buddy. All right. So if you didn't see the story, Tampa Bay Rays had Pride. I don't even know what it's called. Day to day at the park where they all wore rainbow patches on their uniforms because it is Pride Month, and there was something like there are 4 or 5 guys on the big league roster. There used to be 25. Now there might be 26 or 28. It might be a little different, but anyway, There was 4 or 5 guys who refused to wear it. So somewhere around 20% or less.
Yes.
And they cited religious reasons. And there was one guy that came out as a spokesman, and he said, it's not that I don't support it. It's that we don't encourage it. I actually should have pulled up his quote because I should probably get his quote.
Well,
but that's the general gist of it.
Yes, you hit this. I think what you said is very fair as like a roundabout way. So I think you justified it very well.
So we had this discussion. I had it, yesterday out in the hallway with someone else that works here. I had it here with you before the show.
Yeah.
And the whole, I don't think that world exists where you can say, I support it, but I won't wear the patch when everybody else, or 80, 85, whatever percent else is wearing it.
Yeah.
Then if you're not wearing it, you're making a stand and you're saying, I don't really support it.
But I think to me, the stand is wearing it. Because I get into this argument. This is where we'll start with this. I get into this argument all the time with people that I very much respect that are older than me about the flag.
Which is
because growing up, the flag was everything. You stood for the flag. You gave the flag attention. The flag very much mattered in how you treated the flag. And I have never disrespected the flag, but I have had arguments with older generations, fair arguments, that like at the end of the day, it is a flag and the thing it represents matters way more than the flag itself. And so like, to me, like this is a patch. It's a patch. You either wear it or you don't wear it. But how you actually feel about what the patch represents, it's not about the patch itself. So I have no issue with them not wearing the patch. I don't. It just doesn't. I don't see if 20% of baseball players don't want to wear the patch and a handful of them want to come out and say like, listen, we're fine. We support whatever they do. They can do whatever they want to do. But like based off of my religion, I'm not wearing this patch. I have a hard time finding fault with that.
But then don't. But you're not. If 80% of the people are doing it, and you're not, and you say I won't do it, then you're not supporting it. It's just. I disagree.
But see that again, I come back to the idea of like, the whole point of this was people who are wearing it are showing their support.
Correct.
I don't think forcing somebody to wear it means they support it any more than not wearing it. I actually think them being honest about it and just coming out and saying, hey, just so you know, like based off of my religion, I don't feel comfortable wearing this patch. I'm fine with whatever you want to support. Go for it. I think that says way more than just being quiet and just wearing the patch because 80% of people are wearing it.
Yeah, it says I don't support it. That's what it says.
I disagree.
And this is the example I gave. If somebody goes around on the 4th of July and they're on the 3rd of July and they're handing out those little flags.
Yes.
And they're like, tomorrow, our entire community, for free, sponsored by somebody, is handing out these flags. Will you put this flag in your yard on the 4th of July?
And I already told you it's an unfair example.
Well, but it's pretty close. And anyone who says no, then they can't come out and say, I love America. I love what it represents.
Yes,
I'm totally supportive, but I'm not putting a flag in the yard.
You can, yes, you
then
can.
Why?
Though.
But then, what stand are you making?
This
that
is,
I have the right to be.
But this is what I'm saying to you. Why do
Abstinent?
you
Abstinent is not the right word.
Why do you feel like there must be a symbol behind the belief? Like, for example, I think about all the things like I believe in America. I'm a registered Republican. Like, there's a lot of things that I believe in, but like, I don't fly a conservative flag in my yard. I don't fly the American flag in my yard. I don't wake up every morning and put on my like. I don't wake up in the morning and put like my little pin on my shirt that says I stand for these beliefs. Like I believe them and I go about my day and I support them.
If you don't, okay, here's another example. You're in an office setting. Hold on. You're in an office setting. And it's somebody's birthday.
Yes.
And you're passing around a birthday card.
Not
and
a
there's
fair
10
analogy.
people. It is. There's
not.
10 people in the office and 8 of them sign it. And you're like, I'm not signing his birthday card. I really like him. I hope he has a happy birthday, but I'm not signing it because I have the right not to. You're making a stand. When you're that person who opens the card and they say, oh, why didn't he sign? He refused to sign it, which is what happened. That's making a stand. And you can't turn around and say, I like you just as much as everyone else, but I drew this line in the sand. I'm not signing your birthday card.
That's fine. You use 2 analogies so far. One analogy is an analogy. No one's not signing the birthday card. Everyone's signing the birthday card. I've signed every.
Why wouldn't you wear a patch?
Everyone's, and then you also use the analogy of maybe the greatest sacrifice in human history.
It's so you're using analogy.
I understand that, but you're trying to like use these analogies as if they are concrete evidence to show that these people clearly must be against LGBTQ community. And my point to you is, just because they're not going to wear the patch doesn't mean that they are against them. It may not, like, they might not want to wear the patch to show their support, but it doesn't mean that they go home at night and they are against that community. That's what I'm saying. And it doesn't matter.
But wearing the patch would have shown it more.
It would have. I understand that, but that doesn't mean you have to do it. Like, it's not, they are not obligated to wear a patch for any cause, for anything.
No, they're not.
So then why are you so revved up about this one?
No, I'm not saying that they should be fired for not doing it, but you can't say I'm not going to wear the patch, but I support you.
Why?
Because you can't.
Why can't both of those things be true?
Because if you supported it, why wouldn't you just do it? There's no logical explanation. It's not, if I'm running for office and I need people to sign my petition and I say, Jeff, will you sign my petition?
Yeah.
And you say, I'll vote for it. I'd love you to win. I support you all the way, but I won't sign your petition. It just doesn't make sense.
But it doesn't, again, but it also doesn't mean that I'm against you or that I won't vote for you.
But it means that you're saying that I support you rings very hollow because you're not supporting me.
So like here, I think it is at 5 or 6. Do you remember the number of
It was
athletes?
right in there.
Right in there. Like, let's just round number. Let's say it's 5.
Okay.
5 is a 5 a round number? I might have made that up.
Well, so 5 is around 5 of 25 would be 20%.
So let's say out of these 5, I would imagine most of them probably, like, I'm sure, is there a chance 1 or 2 of them are against the LGBTQ community?
Sure.
Odds would certainly say that. But I would also say
4 or 5.
See, that's where I think that's where you and I disagree. I find it hard to believe that 4 or 5 people are like actively against the LGBTQ community.
But they've certainly made themselves look that way.
Yes, but they look that way to you because
you don't think they look that way to society?
I think they look that way to people who are just saying, if the mass majority is going to do it and they don't follow suit, then they must not support it. And I would just say, like, just because you're not supporting it doesn't mean you're against it. That's the point I'm making. Now, odds would say 1 or 2 of them secretly probably are, and 1 and 2 of them probably aren't.
I don't think it's secret anymore. I think
you don't think so.
I think it's clear.
It's the same thing I said to you. Like, you brought up like the American flag. Like, I support America very much. I don't have an American flag in my front yard.
But if someone came to you and for one day, because I understand if you have to put a pole in your yard or you have to, like, there's effort to it. If someone comes to you with a free one for one day and says, just stick it in your front yard for a day, and you say no, it's hard to say, I love America, I'm very supportive, don't put that in my yard. They just don't go together. So let
me ask you this then. Because they are using, and you and I are not them. So who knows their actual reasoning or why they're doing this. They're using a religious exemption, essentially, is what they're arguing. Okay. You and I had the argument about vaccines. And you and I said, I don't love the religious exemptions for vaccines. That all of a sudden, like people with like this religious belief, they can just say that they can have this vaccine and they don't have to get it because they believe this or they believe that, right?
Right.
So why all of a sudden has the game changed? Like now that you can have a religious belief to not get a vaccine, but if you have a religious belief to not wear a patch on your shirt, that's absurdity. That's insane.
No. No, that's not what I'm saying. What's absurd is for them to say, I won't wear it, but I support you. If their religion hates gay people, which there are religions that do, and that's what you choose, that's your choice.
Sure.
But don't hate gay people and then say, I support gay people.
So
that's what they're doing.
So you think not wearing this, I guess this is where I think I found the line. You and I disagree, not in the sense of like, it's not even about whether or not they should wear it. To you, not wearing the patch says you do not support this.
Correct.
Okay. And to me, just because you're not wearing the patch doesn't necessarily mean you're against it. It doesn't mean that you don't care that they live a solid life, that they still have rights, that they still get to do all the things they want to do. I'm just not wearing the patch.
Then
and I think you and I.
If those are
why
things,
does it bother you so much?
If those are things that you want for them, if you think they should have all the rights that everyone else does, if you think that they shouldn't be persecuted and they should be left alone to live their lives the way they want to, then why wouldn't you just wear the patch to show it publicly?
But again, it's that idea of like, so your point is like, join the masses. Like everybody else is doing this, just go along with it. And all I'm saying is like, whether I agree with them or not, like whether or not I would wear the patch is a different conversation. But like, for me to be upset at 4 or 5 people that don't want to wear the patch, to me is like, there is a sense of like, ludicrous is too strong of a word, but I think people are like just pointing the finger at them and just kind of being like, just wear the patch. And if they have a reason they believe to not wear the patch, like, I don't know, like after everything we just went through for the last 2.5 years, where people use this exemption and that exemption to not have to do things, the idea that we're going to lose our mind over a patch, I don't know. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand.
To reiterate, I'm not upset that they're not wearing the patch, and I'm not saying they can't. I'm disappointed that they wouldn't wear the patch because it would show support to an oppressed portion of society, and I think showing the support would be good. But be all that as it may, it's not that they didn't wear it. It's not that religiously they chose not to wear it. It's that they refused to wear it and then said, but we support them. That doesn't make sense.
Interesting. So essentially what you're saying is like, if you support them, you would have worn the patch.
Yes.
And there's no middle ground. There's no workaround. There's no workaround.
If you want me to run for office, sign my petition. Okay. You don't tell me I support you running for office, but I refuse to sign your petition. It just doesn't. If you like the guy, sign his birthday card. All these things. You like America on the 4th of July, put the free flag in your yard. And again, I'm sure there's a lot of people like, I'm not going to go buy $100 flag and a pole and all that stuff.
Right.
This was free. All you have to do, and they would even put it on. All the guy just put his jersey on.
This is free. And again, like, just so everyone knows, like, there's a little bit of devil's advocate to some of this conversation. I would say, like, when you say it's free, like, the difference though in your scenarios that you're giving is they were given a choice. Like, someone came up and said, here's a free American flag. Would you like to put this in your yard? And what I'm saying is, like, they showed up and the patch was on their jersey and they weren't really given the choice. There wasn't really the option of it.
Probably.
So I'm so,
and you know why?
So here,
because probably no one thought anyone would throw a fit because they play with patches all the time.
I would agree with that, but I like, if someone tried to take the American patch off of their jersey, would you be upset?
I mean, I know there have been protests. Let me say this. Don't take the American flag off your jersey and then say, but I really support America.
When it's already on the jersey, you mean? Would you have an issue? Like, so if they would have came out and said, listen, we didn't know they were going to do this. I showed up. It was on my jersey. I haven't had time to think about it. I don't know what it means for my religious beliefs, yada, yada, yada. Would you have felt better than them actually just coming out and saying, like, listen, we support this, but I'm not wearing the patch?
I don't like them coming out and saying we support this. How about this? When they have the black armbands when someone dies. So if a guy comes into the locker room and says, I won't wear the armband, I love the guy, I respected the guy, I'm not wearing the armband. That you can't do that.
Right.
You cannot put those two together. And if a former manager or a former team or somebody that was big up in the
What if someone,
because every sports team in history has either had a sticker on their helmet or a patch on their sleeve or something for someone who passed away.
What if someone said, listen, I didn't really know the guy. I didn't get to know him. I don't know his history or his background. I just want to
but just wear
and
it anyway.
and then they said,
who cares?
But see, that's okay. But this is the point. This is the point that I think that
because I'm sure there's lots of guys on the team who are like, I didn't know the guy either. I'll just wear it.
Right. And what I'm saying to you though is, I'm not saying that I respect these 5 people. I do respect the person though who stops for a second and says, wait a second, why am I doing this? Like if someone came and said, listen, I'm not going to wear the armband. I didn't know this guy. I don't know his background. I don't know his history. Like I was traded a week ago. Like I'm not like, I don't know what he stood for, what he represented. I'm not wearing the armband.
And I get that.
So,
and they say, but he was important to the organization. You are now part of this organization and we would like you to wear it because he is a historical figure in our company.
Yes. And so what I'm saying to you is I would respect the person who said that. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not sitting here like supporting people who don't support LGBTQ rights. What I'm saying is I don't have an issue with anybody who's willing to just step back for a second, especially when it's a patch. It is a patch. It's a patch.
Agreed. So just wear it.
Okay. I don't have any issue with anybody who steps back for a second and says, like, I'm just like, I don't know, and forgive your reason. And listen, some of them are bad reasons. I have no doubt that some of these dudes have bad reasons for not wearing the patch. I don't doubt that. What I'm saying, though, is like, for this to be the thing, like, for this to be the thing that decides whether or not, like, LGBTQ is supported or not, there's just 1,000 other ways to do this. Like, it's a patch.
I get it. So just wear the patch.
People leech on to symbols and what they represent, and it's creepy. Like the idea, like I said, the older generation, there's this idea of like what the flag, like it's the flag, it's the flag, it's the flag, it's the colors, it's the stars. And for me, it's like, no. Like it's the people in the ground, like it's the sacrifices. It's what the flag represents.
No.
So I'm just not going to get caught up. I'm not going to get caught up on whether or not someone wears an American patch or has an American flag in the yard. And it's the same thing with the LGBTQ community. Like I'm not going to get caught up in whether or not someone flies a rainbow flag or wears a patch to decide what they actually believe in the community. Like I'm not going to get caught up in that.
And don't get me wrong. I've never worn a flag pin or whatever. But if we were somewhere, if I was at a march or if I was at a rally supporting the LGBTQ community and they said, here's a pin, would you wear it? I wouldn't say, no, I'm supporting you, but no, I'm not going to wear it. They just don't make sense.
I think the decision was not well thought out by the players. I agree with you. I agree with you in that sense. I will say, I think for MLB to put a patch like that and just assume it would be
I assume it was just the team.
Maybe it was. It would be like if the NBA were to put a BLM patch on the NBA uniforms and them just assuming everybody in the league was going to be okay with it. I mean, you're going to have something like this happen. Like it's going to happen.
Okay. That's a good example. Good example. First of all, you don't think the NBA did? They had it written on the floor.
They wore the T-shirts and stuff like that.
Okay.
But see, on the floor though, like that's not your floor. Like if you're a player, what's on the floor, like you might hate, like for example, Chick-fil-A could be on the floor, but you may disagree with what Chick-fil-A does, but it's not your court. Like there's nothing.
No,
it's different being on your jersey versus the floor.
I do get your point, but if you're the one white guy on the roster on an NBA team, and they have a BLM sticker on it, and you refuse to wear it.
Well, it happened. Myers Leonard of the Miami Heat, he wouldn't take a knee. He stood.
Okay.
He wouldn't take a knee.
Okay.
And so it happened. Like it was a thing. And they went to the finals, by the way. They did the Star Spangled the national anthem. And during the NBA finals, Myers Leonard stood. So,
okay. But he's making a statement.
Mm-hmm.
And his statement, it's hard for him then to, what was his reason? Did he give, I don't know the background of it.
His reason it was very similar. I don't have the exact quotes in front of me, so I don't want to throw Myers. Not that Myers Leonard will ever see this, but I don't want to put words in his mouth. But it was very similar to what you're describing in the sense of it's not that I don't support Black lives. It's just I don't necessarily know if that's what I'm going to take a knee for. So it's to him, the American flag meant more than taking a knee.
What's different about that, which makes it even, is now he is in the locker room.
Right.
People.
Totally.
if 80% of the Tampa Bay Rays players were LGBTQ and these 5 guys said, no, I'm not wearing your patch, now it's different because he used to work with him every day. But he obviously, it meant enough. I mean, you know his name. Like, this is,
he was a player. But
he has stood out.
I think we're missing where I was going with it, though, because the point that I was making to you was, like, the other sports leagues wouldn't have generalized their player pool and just assumed, whether it was an owner or the league, and just assumed, like, hey, everyone's going to be cool with this, right? And just stuck it on the jersey. Like, if you're an owner of the league, you have to know, like, for these conversations. And by the way, the LGBTQ conversation has shifted in as much, I don't want to say it's a new conversation, but we talk about it way more than we did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So the idea that, like, you're just going to put the patch on it and you think everything's going to run smoothly, I think is a little, like, it's not about whether or not you think these people are right. It's from a management standpoint, the idea that this wasn't going to make the news, like, I don't know. Like,
well, okay. So let's look at the 5 guys who said no. Mm-hmm. If they really do support them, mm-hmm. I think his words was, we support, but we don't encourage, based on their religious belief.
Do you want me to read it real quick? I have it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Just to clarify, we should add some context to this. Tampa Bay Rays, 5 Rays baseball players, pitchers Jason Adam, Jalen Beeks, Brooks Rowley, I'm going to say, Jeffrey Springs, and Ryan Thompson declined to wear the uniforms which featured rainbow logos on the caps and jerseys. Adam addressed the situation on behalf of the players, who opted out, telling the Tampa Bay Times it was a faith-based decision and it wasn't judgmental. So it's a hard decision, Adam said, because ultimately we all said what we want is them to know that all are welcome and loved here. But when we put it on our bodies, I think a lot of guys decided that it's just a lifestyle that maybe, not that they look down on anybody or think differently, it's just that maybe we don't want to encourage it if we believe in Jesus, who's encouraged us to live a lifestyle that would abstain from that behavior. It's not judgmental. It's not looking down. It's just what we believe, the lifestyle he's encouraged us to live for our good, not to withhold. But again, we love these men and women. We care about them, and we want them to feel safe and welcome here. So that is the total quote. That's the context behind it.
Do you think they have now encouraged more people to be like, I don't need to support them because I didn't support it?
It's a fair question. I go back to what I've said from the beginning of the conversation. If a patch is what a community believes decides the value or their worth or whether or not they are welcomed, then we are, as a society, we're in real trouble. We have a real problem getting past some of this stuff and getting through to the other end if we're going to decide off of this. That's just my opinion.
I think that, okay, well, let me ask this, because this is a question I've been wanting to ask and I haven't. Do you think it would be fair to ask if any of those 5 that are doing this for religious beliefs, that they're basically saying that their Christian faith is anti-homosexuality? Is basically what they're saying.
I think what they're saying is that whatever text they believe, like in the context of what they are faithful to, there are clearly elements of it that would say what they're doing is wrong.
Do you think it's fair to ask if any of them are Catholic?
I think it's all fair.
Because this would be my first question to the 5 if they were sitting there.
Okay.
Are any of you Catholic? Mm-hmm. Do you still put money in the offering plate? Mm-hmm. Because your denomination, while it doesn't support LGBTQ, it did go out of its way to protect pedophiles. Mm-hmm. And you're okay with that, but you're not okay with wearing a rainbow patch.
Yeah.
And that's my question. And then I shut up and I want to hear that genius answer.
Well, that would be the issue, though, with all religious-based questions right now, is most of the denominations have flaws. The armor is cracked in most religious.
There are some flaws, and then there's some pedophilia scandals.
Absolutely. So I don't know how many of them are Catholic. I think it's all affair. You know my opinions on religion. So everything you're saying is we're paddling in the same canoe. So I understand that aspect of it. I think when you ask that question at a press conference, if you were able to be there and ask that press conference, I mean, if I were them, I would be saying dude, I showed up to work and I thought I was going to put on the same uniform I've put on every day.
It is.
And I can't, I know, but I'm just saying, like, and that's the funny thing. Like, some of this stuff is devil's advocate. Like, I understand your point of, like, you show up to work, that's the uniform they give you. Like, I do fully understand that aspect of this. Like, but at the same time, if I was them, like, I showed up and I wanted to put on a uniform and there was something different on my uniform. And, like, I don't necessarily, like, according to my religious belief, like, this is what I believe. Now, again, I don't love religion. Like, I don't. I never have. But it's one of the few things in this country. Like, if you want to get out of something, like, say you have a religion.
No, I get that too.
So this, again, I go back to this. There was very little brought up. I was on a mountaintop about the vaccine exemptions and people getting out of it because of religious beliefs. And it made no sense to me. And yet, like, those same people that would have defended it and said, like, well, it's their religious belief and they have to you can't have both. You can't say you can't get out of some of this stuff. Okay,
I'm saying they can be they can be bigoted or discriminatory or whatever they want to do and base it on their religious belief. They just can't do it and then say they're not.
I see what you're saying. They can't just give their verbal support.
Right. They can, I totally support you, except I'm not going to support you.
It's an interesting conversation because I think where we were 5-10 years ago, not only was there no I don't want to use the word actual, not only was there no substantial support, but, like, there also was no verbal support. There weren't a lot of people coming out and speaking up. Now we're at a point in age where people are willing to give their verbal support, but it's almost like that's not enough. Like go put on, like, wear the jersey with the patch. It's not enough to just give your verbal
Well, but they're
support.
not. It's their way of not having to have a press conference and give their verbal support. It's about wearing it. So this is another, you'll say this is a bad example, but I'll give it.
Go ahead.
So I went to Susquehanna. So our biggest rival was Lycoming.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate Lycoming because they're our biggest rival, even though, like, my dad went to Lycoming.
Right.
So if my son turns around and he goes to Lycoming to play college football, and they were our biggest rival.
Right.
But so if I show up at every Lycoming football game and wear a Susquehanna shirt, then I'm not really supporting. And I can say, well, my money goes here. I'm rooting for the team. But if you really support, then wear a Lycoming football shirt, just like everybody else in the stands.
It's so
and
weird.
If you refuse,
I know,
then you're drawing that line, and the people around, the people in the locker room are saying, Jimmy, why won't your dad just wear a Lycoming shirt? Everyone else does. My dad didn't go here either, but he wears one.
I know, but the weird part is, like, you're literally describing, like, me. Like, I'm the person who will give my heart and soul to, like, a program, but then, like, when I show up on picture day, like, I don't wear maroon and blue. You know what? Like, you're literally, like, you are.
That was because you don't have clean laundry.
That might be it. But I'm just saying, like, you're almost like I guess it's not so much that I relate to these five. What I'm saying is, like, to me, it's a piece of cloth. It's fabric, and it's like I support way more what's behind that patch than somebody actually wearing the patch.
I get it. And David Robinson went to the Naval Academy, but when his son played for Notre Dame, he showed up with Notre Dame stuff on, and it's cloth.
But do you think?
But
this is the point I'm making. But this is the point I'm making. See, that's where I struggle because, like, even if let's just jump on that analogy. Even though I never think your analogies totally work. Like, I don't think
neither
David
did
Robinson,
my ex-wife.
This is what I'm saying. I think everything David Robinson does around wearing Notre Dame clothing matters way more than him wearing the Notre Dame clothing. I truly believe that. I do.
Wait, say that again?
I like David Robinson as a father supporting his son.
Mm-hmm.
What he does around that is way more important than wearing the Notre Dame sweatshirt. It is.
But
you can't convince me
show
otherwise.
Up in the stands with all the other Notre Dame parents and rooting for Notre Dame, but do it wearing a Navy sweatshirt and say, no, I'm really, really rooting for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm behind you 100%, but I won't wear the shirt.
But
you can't do it.
Shirt.
I know, but you can't do it.
A shirt,
because everybody goes like. The parents, that's just what you do when you're supporting your kid. You wear the shirt where they go. You don't wear your alma mater shirt.
But again,
you wear theirs.
But I think this is where it goes back to the idea of like most of the analogies you've given. These are people
perfect.
They're most of the time people are being asked to do something, And like these guys showed up and it was just an expectation of it. And listen, do I wish we lived in a world or a society where like you could make those assumptions and just have those expectations? Don't we all? But we don't. And so I don't know. Like, I think this went further than what I would have hoped it went. Because at the end of the day, like it's a patch. And I support what goes around the patch and everything behind the patch. But whether or not I wear one, whether or not I take one off my shirt, does not define me or what I believe.
I think
it just doesn't.
I think if you're in the LGBTQ community and you're going to a Rays game and you're like, these 20 people wore the patch, these 5 people didn't.
Sure.
I think you would think the support was different. And no matter what the 5 people say, you can say whatever you want. Talk is cheap. You can say whatever you want, but you didn't support, because all the patch symbolizes is basically this.
But I guess, so let me say this too, because like they didn't burn the patch, like they didn't step on the patch, like they didn't do anything to demean the patch. They just didn't.
They said it's not worthy enough to go on my uniform.
I wake up every day and decide what to put on my body. Just because I decide not to put something on it,
they took it off.
But they didn't put it on. Like I guess that's what I'm getting at here. Is like it
goes back to the black armband. If you show up, like they didn't show up when someone died, and I'm trying to think of a guy who died when Mike was playing. There must have been Yogi Berra, maybe. When did Yogi Berra pass away? And he didn't show up, and they walk around and say, "Hey, will you wear the black armband for Yogi?" They showed up. There's black armband.
That right.
And there are guys that, like, you can't turn around and say, "I love Yogi Berra. I'm happy what he represented for the organization, but I don't want to wear it because I don't like black." Like, you can't do that.
I think you can. I think that's where you and I think that's the difference.
It's disingenuous. You can't say I really support Yogi, but I won't wear the armband.
So you think
if you really support Yogi, you should wear 6 armbands.
So hypothetically, like if I took the patch off, you would say I'm disingenuous and I couldn't possibly support the LGBTQ community.
Correct.
And see, I disagree. I think you very much now whether or not these 5 people are doing that, I don't know them. But what I'm saying to you is like, if I were to do that or somebody else were to do that, I think there's enough people in our lives that to call them disingenuous or to believe that they still don't believe fundamentally that there's things they support within that community is bonkers. Like the all or nothing aspect of this of like, if I don't wear the patch, then I must just completely not agree with the LGBTQ community. I don't know. Like there's got to be some gray in there.
You know where I think the issue comes from, to be totally honest? I think they're afraid they'll get thrown out of their church.
That's possible. I mean, I don't want to go down the religious road because I will not stop. So I'm trying to avoid that conversation.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble.
But I think
there's a lot of it that they tried to say everything they could say without making anybody mad. Yeah. The problem is I think I see through it. But I think that they're afraid that they were going to show up at church and they were going to take heat from people who are anti-LGBTQ.
It's very possible.
Yeah. So, yeah.
No, it's a good conversation. We'll end with this on a lighter note. Heather, if Mark's son goes to Lyco and Mark has to wear a Lyco shirt, I would laugh so hard. That would be like Mark wearing a Loyal Sock shirt.
Mark's son will not go to Lyco. I'll just leave it at that.
You must clearly not support Loyal Sock because you just would never wear a Loyal Sock shirt.
If my kid...
You couldn't possibly have been happy for me being a part of a state championship because you just never wear a Loyal Sock shirt.
I was happy.
So how could you possibly be happy
for
me?
I was happy for you.
Okay, but you clearly weren't. I couldn't see it on your body, so you clearly weren't.
And this is probably a bad example. The little girl who had cancer a couple years ago, and I can't think of her name.
I have no idea what you're referring to.
Oh, there's a girl in Loyal Sock.
Oh, Callie Kavanaugh?
Callie. We wore Callie shirts in warm-ups.
Sure.
So, yeah, that was a Loyal Sock cause and a Loyal Sock, and so
sure.
Yes, we're not that anti-Loyal Sock. If my son grew up, or if my daughter ended up becoming the drama teacher at Loyal Sock, would I wear a T-shirt that said Loyal Sock Drama? Absolutely.
Yeah.
If my son ended up being the baseball coach or an assistant basketball, maybe someday there's some moron head basketball coach at Loyal Sock who's desperate for coaches. Yes. I would go and I would root for.
They don't hold the same social punch of what we were just discussing. Like I would argue.
I get it, but I would.
I understand that, but I'm just saying your choice to wear a Loyal Sock versus Montoursville shirt is probably different than a social issue we've been dealing with for 50
No, and I get it. That we're
Like,
just going off Heather's
yeah,
example. But
yeah.
if my son went to Lyco, I would wear a Lyco shirt.
I know. Oh, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that for a second. But I wouldn't think you're less of a
Would I
father.
cry myself to
Hold
sleep
on.
that he
I
wasn't at
wouldn't-
Susquehanna? Sure.
I wouldn't think you're less of a father if you didn't. And that's the point I'm making to you.
I think I would.
Yeah. So we just
Because
judge that very
you're
differently.
drawing that line that, like, no matter how much I support you, I don't.
But it doesn't
support
mean you don't.
that
It
much.
doesn't mean you don't. I don't know. See, it's a shirt, dude. It's a shirt. Do you want to go through some of these? I'm not. We'll hit one more from Heather. A better analogy would be not participating in a dress down day at work that is in support of a particular organization.
First of all, there are no better analogies than the ones I give.
You give
Mine are
yeah,
perfect.
that's true.
But yeah, there's lots. It's hard to say I support it, but I don't.
Yeah. Audra says, so funny people are against supporting human rights. I think Audra, what makes this one interesting is that they're trying to use the religious exemption. I think it's a completely different conversation if they weren't trying to use a faith-based, I don't want to say excuse, because to them, like, it might not be an excuse to them, but a faith-based cause as to why they're not doing this. Because I think it completely swivels, because this country is literally built around, like,
Human rights.
well, it's built around human rights, but it's also built around the idea of, like, if you don't want to do something, just say it's part of your faith. That is, I mean, our country is built off of that.
Well, I think part of the aspect too, when it comes from this, and when it comes to having, sections in the library for youth books and teaching kids about, why some people have two dads and all that other stuff. I think the religious right, or just the political right or the religious right, the people that are very against it still see this as a recruiting tool. That there's part of it that's like, what did he say? We don't want to encourage it. They're not, by wearing the patch, they're not encouraging people to turn gay or encouraging people to be trans, because you don't recruit. Like, people are who they are. It's telling these people that it's okay. And the reason they want to do it in schools is to tell these kids, because the suicide rate is so much higher for the LGBTQ community, that they're not alone, and that it's okay, and that if you feel different, you're not the only kid in the world who might not be heterosexual. There are others. So I think that's where the dichotomy comes. The right sees it as they're trying to recruit, whereas the LGBTQ community is just saying, we just like support us for who we are and leave us alone.
I guess, but again, like, I think one of the things that surprised me about this conversation so far is, like, you're more black and white on this than what you like. Usually when we have these, there's a ton of gray getting tossed back and forth between us.
Because I think life has a ton of gray. Yeah.
You seem very black and white on this, like, not matter of factly, but to you, like, that patch very much was told the 100% truth, and by not wearing it, like, this is what happened and this is what it means.
Yes.
Okay. And that is the part where, like, I'm struggling with you, because it's not that I completely disagree with your takes. It is like, you are so matter of factly on this. And I've given examples to you where, like, well, listen, like, even if I agree with you, like, it doesn't mean that we're 100% right here. Like, there's other factors going into it.
Yeah, but okay, so, like, there's an NBA game tonight, right? Don't they play
tonight is
game 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I come in here every day and I say, I love the NBA, I love the NBA, I love the NBA. It's game 3 of the finals and it's 1-1. And you say, well, what are you doing tonight? Well, I'm going. They have awards night because Mator's graduation tomorrow, so my daughter has awards night tonight. I'm going to that, and then after that, I'm going to see Top Gun again.
Okay.
And you're like, how can you tell me you love the NBA? Yeah. It's game 3 of the finals, and you're going to see a movie you can see on Thursday, you can see on Friday, and you're just like, because I'm just going to go tonight. If you really love the NBA, you're watching the NBA tonight. Don't tell me you really love the NBA, but you're going to go do something that you can do any other time. So that's the whole. Don't tell me you really support these guys, but you intentionally went to the clubhouse guy and said, I won't wear this. I won't wear this. Take it off my stuff. I'm not going on the field like this. But I support them. They don't work. That doesn't work.
Yes, but the scenario you're giving, like, this is why the analogies always crack me up. The analogy you're giving, like, that person is choosing to go to the movies.
Correct.
Okay. This person has a signed contract to play baseball.
Correct.
And they're showing up to the stadium, and all of a sudden there's something unique, something different about their day. And whether or not I support their decision, I will always support people not just going with the masses and like trying to understand who am I. It's the same thing with the LGBTQ community. I will support anybody in the LGBTQ community who is trying to find themselves, trying to find their path and what that means for them. And like, so it's the same thing. We don't agree with Leah Thomas swimming, but we agree with the idea of Leah Thomas finding herself. So what I'm saying to you is I disagree with people who are necessarily black and white on Leah Thomas, period. Like, I think there's a ton of gray to her. I think there's a lot of gray to this.
See, I don't think there's a lot of gray. I think she should be allowed to be who she wants to be, and if she wants to trans, she can trans. I'm good with that. There's no gray for me.
But you don't want her swimming in the pool with girls.
But I don't care if she swims. It's not competitive.
There you go. Like, okay. So there's some gray there. No, that's what I'm saying.
There's no gray there either.
There is.
She can't compete against women because she has an unfair biological advantage. Okay. There's no gray to me
there. But there are people that disagree with you.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think they're wrong, but that's how disagreements work. That's the way disagreements go.
I'm just saying.
But there's no gray for me. I think she should be able to do it 100%. And I think she shouldn't be able to swim competitively against women 100%. If she wants to swim competitively against men, go get them.
Okay.
But not against women because she has a biological advantage.
Okay.
There's no gray. I'm not gray.
Well, that completely flips the show because the whole thing is based off of this idea of like, you know, being gray and understanding there's different viewpoints.
I do. There are. I mean, in some places there just is no gray. Like,
listen, yes, like Hitler was bad. There's no gray. I totally understand that. This is
very good. I guess very nicely played.
I guess what I'm saying is like we're at a point in society where I think sometimes we're doing a ton of good, and sometimes it gets washed behind. Like we're having a whole month to celebrate a community and a movement that really didn't have a lot going for them a couple of decades ago.
Agreed.
And now, like, it's almost as if none of it is happening because a couple of dudes aren't putting a patch on their shirt. And like, I don't know. Like, I can't wrap around my head that this, like, we just aren't doing enough and things aren't going well. And that these guys are just the downfall of humanity because they decided to take the patch off of their shirt. I'm sorry, I'm not there. I'm not.
No, but
the same way that, because this is the point I didn't get to finish. The same way that I would support anybody in the LGBTQ community finding their way and fighting for their rights. I would argue in our society, the majority of people would fight for people's faith-based beliefs and their lifestyle and for what they're doing, especially if they're essentially saying like, I'm fine. Like, if you want to live that lifestyle, that's fine. But I'm living mine and it's over here. And I'm just not there yet of mixing it in together. Like, I don't know. Like, as a society, doesn't that feel well, like where we're kind of at? And that's not an awful thing considering where we were 10 years ago.
Well, whether it's an awful thing or not is up for debate. But I'm getting,
no,
you're just
finish what I said.
I'm not
Slow down. Finish what I said because you just made me sound like an asshole.
Wait.
I said where we were 10 years ago. I didn't say it's a good thing where we're at. I'm saying where we're at compared to where we were 10 years ago.
I was already trying to formulate my response. But I just don't think that if they want to say I'm not there yet, then say it. But don't say I support you, but I'm not there yet. They can't.
You don't think those two things can be like? No,
I don't. I think
I feel like that's the plot of every Disney movie. I feel like every Disney movie is like.
You're gonna come back and
I feel like every Disney movie, like I feel like in Remember the Titans, it was like, I won't have dinner with you, but I'll come shake your hand after the state championship game. Remember the Titans when she comes and shakes Julius Campbell's hand at the end?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what I'm saying though is, so this is what I'm saying though.
It showed growth.
Okay, and so what I'm saying is, as a country, like I'm not willing to like. I think if you read a lot of these thought pieces, like if you read what ESPN wrote and Fox News wrote, and what all these people reported, you would have thought that we completely started over. We were going back to square one. We've made no progress and just like started over. And what I'm saying is like 5 dudes taking this patch off their jersey. I just can't believe that. I find it hard to believe that we have made no progress and we're starting over.
But we have different topics. And again, not the country. I'm with you. For these 5 guys, these 5 guys have obviously not made much progress. just like the little white girl who dated what's his name in the movie and came over and shook
Yes.
Julius's hand.
Yes.
Do you remember her name in the
I
movie?
don't remember.
I don't remember her name either. But okay.
It was Gary Pertier's girlfriend.
It was Gary Pertier's girlfriend. Yes, that's
how
who it was.
sexist is that I can't remember the girlfriend's
She
name,
had
but
a
I
bit
remember
part.
Gary Bertier and Julius Campbell.
If I sat here for 5 minutes, I bet I could come up with it because I'm trying to picture him saying it. But be that as it may, and now I've lost my whole train of thought.
Sorry, I didn't
What were we
mean to.
talking about?
I think we're good. I think we hit it.
I think we've covered pretty much of. But there's society. Society's done well. These guys have not, and I think.
Remember when we were talking about guns and I told you, I said, my thing about the gun conversation is I think there's a deeper rooted conversation that has nothing to do with AR-15s and no one's talking about it. I think part of what these guys did, there's a deeper rooted conversation here about religions and like some religions do great things. Some churches do great things.
Mm-hmm.
Some do not.
Mm-hmm.
And some churches don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a deeper rooted conversation here that if these guys, like you said, you think they're afraid of what their church might do to them, what might happen, all these things. To me, that is a far deeper rooted conversation than the actual patch itself. I truly believe that with this story. If you have a group, of 4 or 5,
I would probably agree with that.
If you have a group of 4 or 5 baseball players that are afraid to wear the patch because of what their faith tells them, then convince me that the deeper rooted conversation here is.
I probably agree with that. And in the overall scope of the big discussion with the nation and with all this stuff, my topic of this is very shallow and very simple. I'll bet you go in every locker room in the NFL, in Major League Baseball, and hockey and basketball. I'll bet there's homophobia. There's a percentage of homophobia in every locker room.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure of it because that's the way society is. Just don't come out and say you're not. And don't make such a visible stance as to, I mean, it'd be like a Oakland Raider or a Las Vegas Raider when, what's his name? The guy came out, and I'm failing on his name. When he came out and the guy's like, listen, I support him, but I won't play on his team. Well, what do you mean you support him, but you won't play on his team? You can't make those statements. And I think in this instance.
But they were willing to play. And they were willing to play with people who were wearing the patch. Like this, I guess again, there's always gray, percentages always shift. Like they didn't burn the patch. They were willing to play with people who were willing to wear the patch. Like there's a lot of leeway here where what I'm saying is like, I'm not saying you have to agree with these 5 people and I'm not saying you have to defend them. I'm just like, I think where I'm at with this is like, I don't know if it's this horrific thing like people want to make it out to be, especially when you consider the progress we have made, that people that their faith-based religion is against this and they're willing to play with people during Pride Month that are wearing Pride patches. Like, I don't know. Like, I think like to me, that's progress. Like we're getting there. Like to me, like we're chugging along. Like,
I don't disagree with that. We are certainly making progress. I can't stand the hypocrisy of their statement. Okay. I don't think those 5 are making progress.
Okay.
And maybe they are. Maybe they're Gary Bertiers. And as soon as we go off the air, I am going to close my eyes and I'm going to replay the movie.
And remember what that girl's name is.
I want to say Ella. But that's Disney. Emma.
Emma. I think it's Emma.
Is it Emma?
I think it's Emma.
One of those very soft.
If anybody knows the girlfriend in Remember the Titans, please let us know. Gary Bertier's girlfriend. I think you're right. I think it's Emma. I think so. I don't want to look it up and cheat in case.
God, what a good movie that is.
Yeah, I know. That's like the only Disney movie you like.
That's not true. Did you know this? Did I ever tell you this?
Yeah.
In the original writing of it, it was an R-rated movie, and the language was as bad as you would imagine for a race.
Yeah.
And then Disney loved it. And they're like, obviously, we're Disney and we have to clean up the language.
Sure.
So it was the same story, just a little grittier.
So we could have had like Training Day Denzel doing Remember the Titans as well.
That was the original until Disney bought it, and then Disney made it into what it is. And it works the way it does.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a brilliant movie.
It's really good.
But that was so for that's a little tidbit that doesn't really matter to anyone.
We'll let's skip McConaughey.
We can talk about McConaughey. I want to hear what's very.
Well, this is my vanilla ice cream thing, and this will be good because I think it ties into the conversation we had today. Vanilla ice cream. There was a report of the favorite flavors in every state. Did you see this at all? So it just came out. Favorite flavor every state of ice cream. Okay, and I was kind of like, I was surprised, but not surprised. But the number one flavor in 46 out of 50 states was vanilla. Would you have guessed that?
Okay,
Yeah.
now hold on. Now we need to talk, as I was just making sure.
We need to talk because you didn't hear what I said.
No. 46 of the 50 states, favorite flavor was vanilla. Highest selling flavor? Or people were asked?
Popularity.
Really?
Yes. So this is my thing. Here's my take on this, because I was thinking a lot about this. Because obviously the McConaughey stuff's all over, the Uvalde stuff. Like, it's a very it feels like a lot of the issues that are always in the background are all in the forefront at the same time. Gun reform, Roe v. Wade, LGBTQ. Like, it feels like it's like a hurricane of these kind of like dividing topics. And here's what I thought: like vanilla ice cream, and this is corny. I should have wrote a monologue to it. If you walk up to an ice cream stand and the person to the right of you orders mint chocolate chip, and
it's a great choice.
There you go. And the person to the left of you orders tea berry. There you go. That's not a bad choice, local tie there. Orders tea berry. I couldn't help but think to myself, like, complete opposite flavors, complete opposite favorites, right? But if you actually sat down and asked them, do you like vanilla ice cream? The majority of people would say, I love vanilla ice cream. They would say, I like it a lot. And so very much like I think you and I always talk about, like, coming to the middle, and we have more in common with these people or not. I think ice cream is a perfect analogy. We all have these random flavors of ice cream that we love, right? Like, we all have our favorite.
But it's hard to hate
There's
vanilla.
these things. But it's really hard to hate vanilla. And the funny thing is when you start to talk to people like this poll did, a lot of people actually like the same thing. They actually want a lot of the same thing.
I totally agree with that.
So this is the point. I think vanilla ice cream can bring us all together. I think the answer and the key to society and getting us all on the same page is vanilla ice cream.
Now, what's interesting, and I get your point, and that is fascinating to me, the 46 out of 50
I was
states.
stunned.
That is fascinating. If you'd have told me 4 out of 50 states, I would have said, okay, I believe that.
Okay.
Now, I would think as you delve into it, because of percentages, it might have only been like 18%, but there are so many other flavors that got 1%, 2%, 1%, 2%.
Correct.
So, but I heard that Colin Cowherd talked about this, and we've talked. You know Colin Cowherd, right? From when he used to be on ESPN Radio, and then he went to Fox Radio. But I heard him talking about this once, and I never thought of it before. But with all these exotic flavors, he's like, "What's the most popular?" Sale-wise, in gross revenue volume, what's the most popular? He's like, it's vanilla by a mile.
Yeah.
Because it's not because people walk into, where there's 50 flavors of ice cream, they're like, give me a double scoop of vanilla. But when you get in, whether you're getting root beer floats, whether you're getting a brownie sundae, whether like all kinds of sundae, the vast majority, banana splits, they're based with mostly vanilla, if not all vanilla. Yeah. So he's like, it's just so, it's not flashy, but it's so quietly effective in everything. Well, and that's also why vanilla sells so much.
It's also the safety valve of ice cream, if we're being honest. Because if I walk up to a store and let's say they have 8 flavors, and 7 of them are like off the wall,
if
like
you're hosting a birthday party,
and whatever else, like, the person's going to look and be like, I'm just going to get vanilla because I know I'll like it and it'll be
cake and ice cream. You just get vanilla. If you're going to go crazy, you get Neapolitan, and then you have some choices. But vanilla is the safe. You're right. It is the safety valve of ice cream.
So I think politics and society can be viewed very much the same way. We all have these things that we're very passionate about, and not everyone like if I love I'm trying to think, like, I really like peach ice cream. Most people, like, it's hard to find. A lot of people don't love it.
Who loves peach ice cream? My mom.
There you go. Love peach ice cream. So see, like, your mom and I to somebody else, like, people might look and be like, peach ice cream, you guys are idiots. Like, how could you? But in reality, like, if you talk to us about like the basics of basics, we probably love vanilla ice cream as much as you do. And politics, I feel, are probably very much the same way.
To go back to a point that you made earlier, I agree with you. There are people who are really, really in the gun battle, with a bad pun, on one side or the other. They are really entrenched in either the Second Amendment or on the other side in trying to limit but the odds that those people have the same passion for Roe v. Wade or have the same passion is slim. Yeah. But the people who have the Roe v. Wade passion, pride on the gun passion. So you're right. There, in most of the topics of politics, we're probably not that far apart. Yeah. There's just kind of 1 or 2 things that you really stand for and 1 or 2 things that But the meat and potatoes of it, I heard this too a long time ago. And I say a long time ago, within the last 5 years, but not like yesterday, that most of the stuff that goes through Congress gets bipartisan support. It's just boring stuff that doesn't make headlines.
Right.
And what's the headline to make that it goes through? And it's, both sides like, yes, that's good. And yes, that's not, whatever. Yeah. It's just the ones that are battleground things that make the news.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So,
Kate Bosworth. This is thanks to Heather. Kate Bosworth. Her name was Emma.
Is that what I said?
I think it's what we said, but yes, it's what you said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, who's Kate Bosworth?
The Gary Bird.
No, but what has she got? Is she?
She's been in a ton of stuff.
I was going to say she's gone on to be famous, right?
I think that's an understatement.
So give me something that she grew up to star.
Well, she was the one that I always remember, and I want to make sure that it was her. There was a really bad surfing movie that was made. It kind of has like a Blue Crush, I think it was.
Was that her?
I think it
Never
was.
saw it.
I'm looking right now because it kind of has a cult following now. Like it's so bad that it's like good.
Oh, really?
Like people,
it's Sharknado-ish?
Kind of, yeah. Like for teenage girls, it's kind of like hit this weird spot. I'm pulling up right now. So she was in Superman Returns. She was in 21, which is really good.
Oh, the poker movie.
Yep.
I don't know if it's really good. But
so she was Blue Crush. She's the main lead in Blue Crush. So yeah, she's kind of all over the place here.
What's her name again?
Kate Bosworth.
Yeah, I know her from something more famous.
She like I say this very respectfully. She's cooled off a little bit as far as like her movie roles.
You know who the little girl was, the coach's daughter was, right? The one that used to bark around in the crowd.
She was in Heroes, and it's
Hayden Panettiere or whatever. She was on Nashville.
Yeah. Which I've never seen Nashville.
Nashville is good. She's about 4'10", and she was married to a hockey player for a long time. I don't know if they still are or whatever. But yes, I remember because I used to watch Nashville.
Okay.
And they're like, that's the little girl from Remember the Titans used to stomp around the bleachers and yell at the team.
Yeah.
And she was great.
Really good. She was in Heist. I don't know if you remember Heist or not.
Who was in it with her?
I'm not clicking on it.
Oh, okay.
You're a clicker. I'm not a clicker. I just scan it and follow through here. I'm trying to find. She was in Rules of Attraction. She was in Newcomers. So yeah, she's kind of bounced around. She's never like hit it necessarily big. She's got a lot of TV stuff. She was in The Long Road Home. She was in Island. Like a couple of good TV things, but
Kate Bosworth.
Kate Bosworth. Can you picture her now?
I thought I can picture her from Remember the Titans, but she was just a little kid.
But you can't remember her like from anything else.
Yeah, it was like the girl in Did you see?
I'm surprised you don't remember her in 21 because that was a pretty big role in 21. Like she wasn't.
I saw 21. Didn't really like it
because she wasn't she wasn't background fodder. Like she.
You know what drove me nuts about 21?
What?
Go to a different casino.
Oh, instead of hitting the same one.
Yes.
That's fair.
If you're card counting and you're cheating and you're trying to cheat the casino and you're worried about them catching on to your act, then go to a different casino.
Refresh my memory. Were they 21? Like, I know they're in college, but were they 21 in college or did they have to use fake IDs?
I don't remember.
I can't remember either.
I don't remember.
See, I enjoyed.
It was Kevin Spacey, wasn't it?
Kevin Spacey is the lecturer. Yeah, he's like the guy behind the whole gig, the whole drama.
Yeah, I mean, it was all right. That's the part that drove me nuts.
On TikTok and social media, the game show chalkboard, like the clip, is like very popular. Like it gets shared and passed around. They just take that clip to talk about like the game show science and how your odds shift, and people seem to be very into that whole scene with Spacey.
Keep on.
Yeah. Anything else you can think of?
I'm gonna find something else to choose. The girl, the little girl in the basketball movie with
I thought you were gonna say
Finding Forrester. You've seen Finding Forrester, right?
I've seen Finding Forrester.
Was it Anna Paquin?
No.
Or whatever. The girl who
are you going somewhere with this, or are you just thinking?
Well, I'm just saying it's just other. She went on to have a huge career.
Okay.
And she was in. I think she was in one of the Vampire.
Anna Paquin is her name.
And then what was the vampire show that wasn't
True Blood?
Yes.
On HBO?
Yeah, she was in True Blood.
Okay.
So yes, it is funny when I never knew that the girl that Emma, Gary Bertier's girlfriend, went on to be good.
Now here's what's funny. You want to talk about like whether or not you see a show dictates how popular you think somebody is. Like you've never seen The Office. So there's people
I've seen 2 episodes.
I understand that, but there's people that I think are famous that you would be like, they've done nothing. And this is Anna Paquin, I think, is one of those people for me because I never watched True Blood. And I'm looking right now, and I almost don't recognize her. Like, I'm trying to hold on. I'm going through her thing real quick. She was in American Underdog, the one they just did about Kurt Warner.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Okay, she was in that.
Did you see that?
I didn't. No.
Okay.
She was in that. She was in The Irishman, which I didn't know that. She plays older Peggy Sheeran in The Irishman.
I didn't know that either.
No, I had no idea. She was in a TV series, Electric Dreams, Bellevue, True Blood's there. She was in X-Men, Days of Future Past.
I mean, True Blood was her.
Oh, very.
That's the one she's hanging her hat on.
I would totally agree with that. I guess what I'm saying is, to me, like, she wouldn't have even crossed my mind in these conversations. And now that I'm going through, she's been in a ton of stuff, and somehow I've, like, missed everything.
It's funny to me that it's happened with, like, if you're watching an old movie like that, and when you watch the credits and you see a name, and because I'm a credit watcher, especially from, like, old movies that you're wondering if any of the bit characters, like, went on to do something.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that name, and I was like, wait a minute, I know that. So she went something, but I never watched True Blood either, but it was such a big thing that I still know who she was.
In 1993, she was in The Piano. Didn't The Piano win or was nominated?
Something. Yeah.
I think it might have won it was Title of the Year, I think.
I think so too.
Okay. So she was in that, and I think she was like the kid? Lead. I think she was like the lead female. Looking real quick.
Anyway,
are
you still on Anna Paquin or are you back to Cape?
I'm still on Anna Paquin.
Okay.
I'm going through. I'm just because I'm curious now. I'm kind of fascinated by the idea that she was Flora McGrath in The Piano. So interesting.
Huh, there you go.
Never would have thought of it. Never would have thought twice of it.
All right. Well, tomorrow we'll talk about McConaughey.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Because
he got bumped. Someone text his people and let him know he got bumped for Vanilla Ice Cream.
He got bumped for Vanilla Ice Cream on the almost Emmy nominated.
Nominated.
I think he's got bigger fish to fry. I think he'll be okay with it.
You think?
I'm excited to talk about this because obviously his statements about gun control we can touch on. I think it's fascinating that he is the one that spoke on it. I think there's a huge question. You and I have touched on celebrities in politics before. I think the fact that he is from Texas is fascinating. And just him in general. I think there's a lot of meat on that bone about what he said in that conversation.
Oh, I agree. And he's very Texas. He shows up at UT and he said in the town, what's the town where the shooting was? Starts with U.
Uvalde.
That's it. He's like, that's where I learned to shoot. Yeah. And that was his initial statement. That's where I learned to shoot.
Sure.
So he's not like anti-gun.
There's another, I'll tease this for tomorrow. I started thinking about, would other presidents behoove themselves if they would have let celebrities come up and speak on the topics they believed in? How different and who, and then you get down this whole path of who were those people who would have spoke? Think about Trump's presidency had his things he really believed, the wall. He really believed in the wall. Imagine if he could have found one or two likable celebrities that shared that vision.
If he would have had Jack Nicholson, who said, "You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall."
Right. And even you think about Obama and who he could so it kind of got my wheels turning who else has. Now here's the other thing too. I don't even know if Biden's administration deserves credit for this, because if Biden wasn't old, I'm trying to think of a polite word.
I wondered what was the next word coming out of your mouth.
Because I'm not trying to say something he isn't, but so I don't want to sit here and be he's crazy or but he's old. I wonder if he was younger and was still kind of a little more flowier when he spoke, would they have even thought of this? Would the idea of McConaughey even be? So I do this. I guess this is what I'm saying. To me, the McConaughey speech, obviously it was about guns, and I'm not trying to ignore that. But I'm looking at it and I'm could this save his administration? Could this actually for 2024 be if we're just gonna get likable people talking about topics very reasonably for the next 2 years? I don't hate it.
And has the administration realized that Biden doesn't move the needle?
Yeah.
And that it's better You agree with this guy's message, even though you're the president of the United States. It's going to be better if we let this guy deliver it. You might be honest.
So anyway, I want to like deep dive into some of that stuff.
That is very interesting.
There's like 5 or 6 topics about the McConaughey thing yesterday that have nothing to do with guns that I want to dive into.
So as companies have celebrity pitchmen, you're saying the president may all of a sudden have celebrity pitchmen.
How much smoother would Trump's 4 years have gone if every time there was a divisive topic or something, he could have brought up a likable somebody to help alleviate the idea that it's Trump? I mean,
it's one. I think there's a lot of ways. I mean, even like diehard Republicans. No, I don't. They're like his presidency would have got a lot smoother too if he didn't tweet 17 times a day.
Yeah, but again, see that world, like you and I've talked about that Twitter world, his party's not necessarily in that world. Like his following is not necessarily in the Twitterverse.
But he said a lot of things that made a lot of
this is what I'm saying. The person who voted against Trump is on Twitter. The person who voted for Trump, there's a 50-50 chance he's on Twitter. Like those people aren't there. They're not.
But the news people were there and they saw it. Twitter did not help Trump.
Yes, but that's not who votes. The people who vote are the people that were like, when you drive around North Central Pennsylvania and you run into somebody with a red hat, like they're not on Twitter. And they don't need to be on Twitter. But it's not their job to be on Twitter.
Who's over the age of 45 who is on Twitter? There's a lot of people that are.
That's right. And that's that's his game. Like that's his baby. Like, so the funny thing is, like, when he would tweet, I don't think he was talking to his people. It was really just to like piss off the other side. Like it wasn't.
Oh, I disagree.
Really? You don't think so?
I disagree.
Interesting. I thought it was more just to rub the other side wrong. So anyway,
celebrity spokesmodels.
Yeah.
They have hot chicks come out like on The Price is Right.
I mean, just anybody.
No, I'm get it.
If you picked like Trump's 5 most divisive topics, and you would have said which are the celebrities that have come out and said like I don't totally disagree with it or da-da-da. And like they would have been willing to come up and speak, and they would have gave him the platform. Like I think it's a very different ball game. Like it's a different presidency.
Are we at a point in society where the Democrats wouldn't listen to anything Trump said, and the Republicans won't listen to anything Biden said?
Sure.
And they wouldn't listen to anything Obama said. Yeah. So when you bring on someone else, it at least gives people a chance to listen.
Totally. Dude, I think they've stumbled. And again, I'm not
accidentally.
And listen, maybe they did. Maybe this was I'm not. Maybe it was their plan. I think they stumbled into
or maybe they just found the cure for penicillin and had no idea.
Found the cure for penicillin. It's very, very possible. So we stepped on a little bit, but I do want to talk about penicillin.
What's that? Penicillin is, you know what I mean?
It's a miracle drug.
I said the cure for penicillin. Penicillin doesn't have a cure. It is the cure. I can't speak.
Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news.
That's it.
I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We will be back tomorrow.
Golden State on the road tonight?
Golden State on the road tonight. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really fun.
Who do you like?
I still think it's
you're gonna pick Golden State every
night? Until otherwise, like
whoever wins tonight is losing Game 4. It'll be 2-2 after.
That's your pick. So
that's it.